Yeah, Harding thing.
Well, that unraveled over several days. This is 24 hours later where they're going in and nabbing the other girl.
Well, they had a template.
Yeah.
They had a template. You know that some
true.
French police detective was sitting there in his office filled with cigarette smoke and BO. Yeah. And you know that he's flipping through American crime novels or true crime accounts. And he says, oui, oui. That's the only French I know, oui, oui. Which I believe, what's oui, oui mean?
Yes, yes, I believe.
It could. I know in Framingham it means urine. Yeah. But yeah, oui, oui. And so he figured out the crime. So I think that's obviously we feel very, very badly for the woman who was involved, who got hurt. But boy, that's hysterically stupid. And what a horrible thing to do. What is it with these French soccer players?
It could have been a publicity stunt from the get-go. I mean, Messi plays for the men's team at PSG. I never even knew they had a women's team, so now I know.
Okay.
So it paid off.
Maybe that's the reason.
News. Yeah.
All right. So just a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't the other player who ordered the hit. Maybe it was team ownership that said, unlike what was the team ownership in Slapshot?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, they just wanted to sell the team. It was Paul Newman's idea to make them goon it up.
And the two assailants clearly don't know soccer because they beat her about the legs, but she still could have thrown the ball in, so she was still an eligible player.
She was the right fullback?
Yeah.
All right, finally, let's talk about this one, Sutton.
Oh, this is a touchy subject. Okay.
This is a very touchy subject because you've got the parents on one side and the people from Sutton on one side, and then you've got others.
The MIAA on the other side.
Well, I don't know if it's the MIAA in the middle, but also you've got Georgetown, which I think it was at Georgetown High School that lodged the protest. Sutton, which has got a very good team.
On both sides, boys and girls. They're always very strong.
And they supposedly got a waiver. They got a waiver to allow 8th grade girls to play. And the spirit of the waiver is supposed to be that you can allow 8th graders to play if you need to fill out the roster, if you need to fill out the starting or the team.
Yeah.
And not because they're better than a senior or they're better than a junior or they're better than a sophomore or better than a freshman. You're supposed to only do it, apparently from what I'm reading, if there were not enough high school age players to field the team. Now, I understand that this can get a little touchy as well because how many do you need? Do you need 11 or do you need 15? And so this is, anyway, they got the waiver. They got the 8th grade girls on the team, and it turns out these 8th graders are really good. They're really good players. And they advanced 2 rounds deep into the tournament, and they beat Georgetown, and a protest was filed in the MIAA, and this is a decision that's not going to, that again, is not going to make anybody happy, but they said Sutton can continue to play, just not with these 8th graders, because they've basically violated the spirit of the rule that should have been taken care of before, but nobody complained about it, and now somebody complained about it. And they said, oh yeah, you're right. Now, the parents on the other side, the Sutton side, are saying, but we've played like this all year. Why, how is this fair to our team, to our girls? And let's say the opponents, or let's say just the people who are critical of Sutton and critical of the MIAA are saying it shouldn't have been allowed. It shouldn't have gone on this long. And it's cheating. It's having, and I think one of the other parts of this is if you're talking about girls' sports, and I suppose it's the same with the boys, but, if you had a young Bobby Orr could play with older kids. Not that it's kind of rare. I think it's less rare it seems to be a little less rare with girls. It seems like if you've got an 8th grade girl who's really good, she can play up a level easier than with a boy. An 8th grade boy versus a senior boy, you've got a pretty distinct physical advantage. I'm not sure if it's quite the same with girls, where there's more emphasis on speed. And some 8th grade girls are, fairly strong kids. So I find it really interesting. And obviously it's a thing where somebody missed it. Somebody didn't think it was a big deal. But when you look at it, it is a violation.
Well, there's some gray area where they're saying they did have a waiver.
They did.
But they didn't have the right waiver. They had the waiver that you could play JV.
Right.
But not play varsity.
Yes.
I mean, my only, just looking at it from afar, is if you filed a complaint before the game because you feel like we shouldn't be playing these kids, they're let's say they're small.
Yeah.
We feel like we're going to have to kind of hold back. We're afraid we're going to hurt them. Some of our kids are big. Yeah. It's going to affect the way we play. If that's your gripe, that's okay. But it sounds like they lost and then said, oh, we lost to some 8th graders. We don't want them playing anymore. If you're a senior or a junior in high school, you shouldn't be complaining about what should be a disadvantage on the other team. That's like a heavyweight losing to a 150-pound guy and saying, well, I shouldn't have to fight him because he's not over the weight. Well, we don't have him over the weight for a reason, because you would kill him. Right. So if you fail to kill him, how are you complaining about that?
But I don't think that there's a big deal. Like I said, I don't think the difference between these 8th grade girls and the seniors from the other team was as great as the case that you're suggesting. And I don't know when was the complaint made during the game, before the game, or after?
That's what I don't know. It's the way it's written. It sounds like they lost, and then they looked into it and said, "Oh, some of them are 8th grade. We want to file a protest." But it sounds kind of petty to be complaining about playing kids that are 5 years younger than you.
Okay, yeah. The complaint was filed after the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I kind of look at it, and I, you know me, I'm a rule follower. I don't like to break the rules. I think the rules are there. If they're going to be enforced, they should be enforced. I think it certainly makes sense that you'd want to complain before or protest before and not after.
Yeah. It is on Sutton to get the right waiver, though, for sure.
And the other question might be, or the other situation might be, and again, they should have been scouted. So if these 8th grade girls were playing as often as they were getting as much playing time, enough playing time to make a significant difference, they should have known that before the game. They should have had scouts to tell them this. I don't know. It's a really interesting thing. They should have got the right waiver. If the waiver was for these girls to play JV, they should have played JV. At what point do you penalize the team? I don't know. It's sort of, to my mind, again, it's the coaches are there to educate. The coaches are there in high school varsity sports to win games and educate the kids. And it seems like if you're going to break the rules as egregiously as these guys, as they apparently did, then it seems like the educators are failing to hold up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's just that we usually hear about these protests because someone didn't live in the town they were playing for the high school or they were too old and they got a waiver, but the waiver only covers you up to 20 and the kid's 22 and he's playing high school soccer.
Right. Oh, yeah.
We're talking about 8th grade kids. I just can't even believe that you'd even want to file that protest.
Well,
Wouldn't you be embarrassed to file that protest?
This is probably why nobody from Sutton complained, because the culture of sports, culture of high school is you don't want to be that squeaky wheel. Yeah. But here's the question: if your mission is to educate the kids and to give kids an education and competition, which is what high school sports is, and you're a senior and you're sitting while some girl from the 8th grade is playing.
Yeah, that I'm not for. Absolutely.
And again, maybe during the season they were all playing, so it wasn't as big an issue. Maybe these 8th grade girls came on at the end of the season. There's a lot of details we don't know.
It sounds like a cluster on both sides. Like, shame on you for not. It looks like you tried to sneak the girls in without anyone knowing.
Yeah.
Right? And then they found out. And then shame on you for protesting because, I don't know, it's 8th graders that you're 16-year-old up to a 12-year-old.
It's adults. It's not really about the kids. It's about the adults that allowed it to happen. Now you can blame it on I think you got to blame it on the coaches. I mean, I don't know that this is all that much different as I know a team that the bus came home without a kid. This was years ago, but I remember the coach. And the coach wound up losing the job. They didn't make a big deal of it. It never made the papers.
Really?
But somebody just didn't come home with the team bus. And the person it turned out, now how the player missed the bus, I don't know. I don't know any of the details other than that. But that seems like a fairly simple thing that every coach should get from the very start. Protect the players. make sure that you leave. And I get it. I mean, some of these teams where you don't have kids get on the bus after the game because they're going to go off with parents.
That creates a lot of problems.
Oh,
believe me.
it's a stupid idea. It's a stupid idea.
Because you count, and then you say we're missing 3, and one of them told you he was going with his parents, and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
And now you assume he's gone. So you leave him there. I can see why you'd leave him there.
Yeah. It's.
I want this guy to get his job back.
Well, all right. It was about 15 years ago, but we can call retroactive. It just seems like it seems like these are the things that coaches should guard against. And if the girls were supposed to play JV, they should play JV. That's what the waiver was. They shouldn't try and sneak them onto the high school. I got to say, you're right. The timing of the protest, it's a little shaky. But again, if you're one of the girls from the Georgetown high school team, your team just lost to a team with an unfair advantage, and I know this is something that you're particularly keen about, why wouldn't you complain at that point? You've seen them. You've seen how good these 8th grade girls are. You've seen that this team, which got the waiver to put the girls in the JV, has now beaten your team. Your team should have gone on if your team had played their juniors and seniors and sophomores and freshmen. It just, I could see points for both sides. And I think
can too.
I think the big point for Sutton is it's not the girls' fault. It's not their parents' fault. But of course, on that side, you've got all the parents saying, these girls have done this the whole year, blah, 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 blah. If I play the entire year on steroids, I'm pretty sure we're going to be in trouble for that. Actually, if I played on steroids, it wouldn't make a difference because I just sit there with my hair growing on my back and my acne. But you know what I'm saying.
Once you make the determination they can't play anymore, now Sutton's going to continue on. You have to let them continue on, because if you let Georgetown get the win, then the 2 teams they already beat want back in, and then teams that Sutton beat in the regular season that were 2 points short of a tournament bid now want back on the. You can't. You're going to have to unravel the whole thing.
Well, something you could also say, they were the ones that protested. We overturned the result because of their protest. Why should
You should be a czar of a country. I like how you did that. You just said, they protested, they're back in.
I know. I would be good. I would be a good dictator. I don't know why nobody will give me a country. I guess it's because I'm not. I know somebody, and he told me that he came to this country because his father and his uncle tried to assassinate the president of that country. And when it didn't go well, they moved up here. I assume by the CIA. But
it's interesting that you would run into that guy.
Huh?
It's interesting that you would run into that guy.
I know. Well, it's too bad too, because I'd be a good czar. Anyway, back to this. The point of the matter is,
we want Sutton to lose their next game, just so we can just wash our hands of it.
That's a good point.
That would be poetic justice.
Yeah. That really is probably the best result.
Yeah.
Because if they win out, what happens? It's so messy. It's so awful. It's so awkward.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know. It's
I get bad blood for Sutton anyways. I used to play them when I coached in high school.
Okay. And you have bad blood?
Yeah.
Against Sutton? Even the girls? The 8th grade girls? These 8th grade girls were in like 6th grade.
Believe me, if they had 8th graders, I would have appreciated it because they were a big, strong, tough team. But the fans were insulting the height of one of my players, like just down and dirty.
What? That's absurd.
I was literally ready to walk across the field, stop the game, and say, I need these people out.
You would have
escorted off.
Wow. And the thing is, Dale, he would have wanted to go across the stands and the field and punch that guy, but he knows that he's not allowed to use his hands. Yeah, that's Bush.
Yeah.
That's Bush. Parents, it's crazy what's going on. I mean, it happened when I was a kid. It happened when you were a kid. But boy, it just seems to be worse and worse that the parents feel that they don't have to act like adults, and they don't have to act like reasonable people, and they don't have to act in some cases like educators when they're on the field of play. And the majority are fine. The majority of high school coaches keep their perspective. But there are some high school coaches that don't. There are some parents who have no idea what perspective is when it comes to watching their kids and how they relate to other kids. And, it's one of those things that one of the things we learned when we were kids is sports will